Hello all. It's me, the old deplorable basket case here. And I'm here to talk about a question that lots of people are asking. Can Trump end the Ukraine war? Well, there's two things that any honest debate of this question needs to start with. And the first is, I don't know. Honestly, nobody really knows. Because it depends on an awful lot of things that nobody can know. There's an awful lot of things going on inside the Russian government, for example, that I know literally nothing about. There's an awful lot behind closed doors between Putin and his government, and also Putin and his various other allies that could affect any kind of negotiations. The second thing that needs to be talked about is, needs to be said, is Trump is not Putin's friend. Absolutely not. The only people who say that Trump is Putin's friend is Putin himself, really only the past few years, and before, I'll get to that, and Trump's political enemies who are trying to say that to gain political points on him. Now, Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, never met with Putin. Not once. I mean, as far as public knowledge goes, the only time they ever actually spoke was at a G8 summit, I think. I could be misremembering. Please comment below and correct me if I'm wrong. Also, Trump, the 45th president of the United States, tightened, increased, made worse sanctions against Russia dating from the 2014 invasion of Crimea. And he also sent lots of military aid to Ukraine, which is part of the reason why Ukrainians have done as well as they have done in the war so far. They were readier for the war than they otherwise would have been. So those out of the way, let's talk about this. I'm a little bit optimistic about this. I think that Trump has a better than 50% chance of doing it. Because Ukrainians want peace. They really do. In a recent poll, something like 80% of people in Ukraine wanted to end the war. But at the same time, the vast majority of everyone in Ukraine supported continuing the war. Because while they want the war to end, they don't trust Putin. The general opinion is that if they make peace, and they leave Putin with all his gains he's gotten so far in the war, which amounts to, well, something like 20% of Ukraine's territory, then he'll just spend a few years building up his army and then invade Ukraine again. Which, based on past experience, is a reasonable concern. So, if President Trump can offer Ukrainian people, solid guarantees of their future safety, I think the vast majority of everyone in Ukraine would be totally on board with it. And Putin also wants to end the war. No, I didn't say he wants peace. I said he wants to end the war. Because the Russian people are suffering, and not that he cares about them, but because the Russian people are suffering, his power is in danger. Both at home and abroad. Russian people are desperate. The country is literally falling apart. And the more Russian people are suffering, the more likely they are to stand up to Putin. So every day the war goes on, the greater the danger to his regime grows. So, oh yes, and there's one other thing. Trump has a pretty good track record when it comes to... Stop eating my kilt! Trump has a pretty good track record when it comes to getting people to talk. The Abraham Accords, for example. He brought together Israelis and Arab countries who have never had diplomatic relations, as far as I'm aware, and got them to have diplomatic relations. Countries that have technically been at war for a while are now at peace in the Middle East. Also, the whole North Korea-South Korea negotiations he started. In the end, it kind of fell apart. Partly because Joe Biden didn't work on Korean relations as much as President Trump did. Excuse me, President Biden. President Biden. May not like the guy, but I do need to respect the office of the president. Now, like I said, the Korean talks kind of fell apart at the end, but it's still a major accomplishment that Trump did. Talked them through several rounds of negotiations, actual signatures were put on actual treaties. Okay, major accomplishment. So Trump does have a decent track record when it comes to getting people to make treaties with each other who don't like each other. So, yeah. What it comes down to is we don't know, and I think Trump has a pretty good shot at it. We'll see what comes. Now, it should be said that all this that Trump was talking about, he would end the Ukraine war very quickly. All this was said during election year, and he is a politician. So, you do need to take that with a grain of salt. I like Trump. I voted for him, and I'm still taking it with a grain of salt. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a lovely day. Good night, and God bless.